this is a complicated, long effort that has been in the works behind the scenes. And trust me, of anybody who is hesitant about regime change or putting boots on the ground, it is the American Republican Party, because they have paid the price of the last 25 years.
Events are moving fast in the Middle East after the US and Israel launched attacks on Iran earlier this morning. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard has announced it's begun a counterattack, and explosions have been reported in Israel and in Bahrain, home to the US's Navy 5th Fleet. Sama Al-Trush is the Middle East correspondent at The Times. He told us how people in Trump's camp may have encouraged the president to act.
The suggestion was that if Israel is seen to be attacking first, preemptively or not, as they say, and Iran retaliates, that would give more justification for the US to go all in. The US have amassed more forces in the region than at any time since, the last time we've seen anything like this was during the 2003 war, which overthrew Saddam Hussein in Iraq. So that's kind of the numbers that we're talking about here and the firepower.
Well, Gabrielle Weiniger is the Times correspondent in Israel who assesses what the US plan may be.
I think the whole plan is based around the fact that this is going to be a far more intense and far more powerful war than we saw in June. And they will go hard, and they will go until the removal, not just of the nuclear threat, not just of the missile threat, but also of regime change, and in some way embolden perhaps the Iranian opposition who rose up so bravely in January. I don't think there was any illusion that this is going to be a limited strike, that this is going to be severe and quick. I think Iran now know that this is a fight to the death, and America is now in it for the long haul as well.
Well, Ben Wallace, the former Defence Secretary, warned what may happen if the president doesn't follow through and fulfil his intentions.
The dangers are the Iranians rise up and are brutally suppressed by a regime well practiced in it, and that the United States doesn't follow through, or anybody follow through on its declaration. You can't just encourage people to rise up if you haven't equipped them or trained them or supported them in its purest form, if that's what you were going to do as a country's ambition. I'm not saying that is anybody's ambition, other than I think the verbal statements by the United States, but in the past, regime change is usually achieved by enabling the opposition as well as encouraging them.
Well, let's speak now to Sarah Elliot, spokesperson for Republicans Overseas UK. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
I mean, I really do not mean this to sound as trite as it might, but Donald Trump came to power wanting to win a Nobel Peace Prize, and here he is bombing Iran. This is a gamble, isn't it, for Donald Trump, and not just for a peace prize, but I mean in terms of a foreign policy approach of a US president.
It is a gamble, but you are talking to the ultimate risk taker, Donald Trump, and he has taken some very big risks already in this administration, in Trump 2.0, and has been successful. So he is emboldened by his Operation Midnight Hammer last June, and also in Venezuela recently. But the president is very much committed not to put boots on the ground for a long time, or any American soldier on the ground for a foreseeable time. So it'll be really interesting to see how this does play out.
Yeah, what's your take on how it will play out? What is the, I suppose, strength of feeling among Republicans, particularly in Congress, around whether this military action is justifiable?
Well, Iran has been a nuclear threat to the world for, 46 years under this regime. And so it is necessary to deal with it. I mean, for once and for all, the Americans want to put this to rest. Enough of, risking lives in the Middle East and American personnel as well. I mean, Iran is the largest export of terror around the world. They've been funding it for decades now under this Islamic regime. So it's got to come to an end. And I think President Trump is all about putting out fires. And I would say the confidence of the American people, particularly the Republican Party, is quite high in the ability of this team of people that President Trump has around him to do this.
I wonder where that confidence comes from, because history and precedent teach us that ambitions for regime change carried out by the US military have not particularly gone well.
Well, there's regime change, and there's taking out the nuclear power, the nuclear bomb. I think the enthusiasm and confidence comes from the successful track record of the past year. That clearly this team of people are very capable of executing successfully very complicated military operations.
I mean, this is not Venezuela, though, is it, Sarah?
No, it's not Venezuela, but it is connected to that whole storyline. And it is an ongoing threat that previous American presidents have not been successful in neutering and taking down. So, I think time will tell. And also, America is not in this alone. I think the Israelis are also working with the Americans, too, on this. I mean, this is a complicated, long effort that has been in the works behind the scenes. And trust me, of anybody who is hesitant about regime change or putting boots on the ground, it is the American Republican Party, because they have paid the price of the last 25 years.
Yeah. Does this suggest that actually the people around Trump who you've credited with what they've achieved in the last year, that they have failed in their diplomatic efforts here in Iran? There have been talks ongoing. There were more talks planned for next week. And here we are reporting on Donald Trump now bombing Iran.
Dealing with, who have absolutely no problem slaughtering their own people by the tens of thousands. So, this is realpolitik. This is the real world. You're dealing with very, I would say, and necessary.
Yeah, I think on that, Sarah, no sane person would disagree with you on the need for regime change from this murderous, oppressive Iranian regime as it stands. It is just a question as to whether that is what will be achieved, whether that will happen, whether what comes next is better or worse, what the overall strategic ambition is. When can Trump declare victory? These bombs and missiles have been launched without a clear plan. And once again, this has been a fatal flaw of, let's be real, Western interventions in other countries in recent living memory.
But you're not going to announce your plan to the world first.
It wouldn't hurt, would it? It would be helpful to understand.
These are complicated, sensitive, and classified operations. I mean, sometimes you can't release your plan so that the enemy can see it. But
what about an ambition?
Your point is well. Your point is well taken. Your point is well taken, and the American people are quite hesitant about this. They don't want to be embroiled in another Iraq war situation.
Yeah, well, and that is, absolutely true, I suppose, in all of this. In terms of President Trump's kind of messaging around this, then he issued this 8-minute video on social media last night. Will that be enough to convince those who are sceptical at home? What more does Trump need to do to keep the American people on side?
I think he needs to execute quickly and successfully and extract American power out as fast as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, we will see what transpires in the days ahead and weeks ahead, potentially. Sarah, thank you very much for your take. It's good to speak to you.
Sure, thank you.
That is Sarah Elliot, a spokesperson for Republicans Overseas UK. And as has been the case all morning, the story is still developing. A US official now saying that Iran is retaliating against multiple US military facilities across the Middle East. We'd reported for you that the Bahraini state news agency had reported that the US Navy's 5th Fleet Centre was subjected to a missile attack. But to update that reporting, multiple US military facilities are being targeted across the Middle East.
Yeah, the AFP news agency is reporting that loud explosions are being heard in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. We'll continue to keep you right up to date with all of those developments.